Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We need these facilities in Holland Park West. First of all, I would like to thank everyone for inviting me to share a few moments. I would like to start by saying that when a person is in an environment that is not so conducive to Islam, it is my personal experience that he becomes stronger. I don't wear a turban and I don't hold a staff. But in the early 90s when I went to America to lead Tarawih, I don't know why, I wore a turban and I held a staff. Because it was in my mind that when I was passing through certain suburbs of Manhattan, I found that there were Jewish brothers that were displaying their traditional dress. And I felt that, look, in this environment, it is incumbent upon me that I display the image of Islam. And without any information or without anyone pushing me, I held the staff for the first time and I wore the turban. That's number one. So when we come into Australia, this country is a beautiful country. It is the country of opportunity. The land of honey and milk. That's what they call it, the land of honey and milk. There's so much opportunity here. And the people are very receptive. They're very open at the same time. Many schools come to Holland Park Mosque, and I'm talking about the state schools. And I remember that in the late 90s, there was a school that came from Toowoomba. And I gave a talk, a normal talk that I do give to schools. So I speak for about 1 hour and then the schools leave. 10 years after this school left, one fine morning I received a call, and the discussion started by the person saying Assalamu alaikum. So immediately I knew that he was a Muslim. But the way he said it, I said he's not a born Muslim. So most probably he's a revert. And I said to this person, who are you? And he said that, are you Imam Uzair? And I said, yes. And he said, are you the same person that gives talks to schools? I said, yes. He said, have you been here for the last 10 years? And I said, yes, I've been here for the last 10 years. He said, you are the reason why I accepted Islam. And I was shocked. I said, I don't even know this guy. Who is he? And I said, what is your story? He said that I was living a very dark life and I was taking drugs. And one day I was lying in the gutter in the city. And when I recovered in the morning, I thought that what am I doing with my life? And there was something that you said in a speech, and it was something very minor that we share every moment, that we should always be mindful of the one that provides for us. This is something very common for us. And I gave a few examples, I don't even remember now. And he said that this clicked in my mind at that time, that the Creator has given so much to me, and I am lying here in the gutter early in the morning with drugs in my bloodstream. So he said I stood up, and at that time he was living in Gold Coast, and he went to the Gold Coast Mosque and he accepted Islam. From this I understood that we shouldn't really be deterred by the recipient's response. Whenever we see somebody, if we get the opportunity, we should give da'wah. Whenever we get the opportunity, we should give da'wah. Maybe at that time it will not register with him so well, but there is a great possibility that in the near future or in the future, that word that you shared with him will emerge in his mind, and it may become the means of his hidayah. So there is great opportunity in this beautiful country. At this certain time, we find that there are countries throughout the world that are going through a lot of problems. Alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah, Australia has been protected, and Allah keep it protected. And it is a time for us to step on the platform and take responsibility of informing the wider community of the beauty of Islam. But what I want to draw your attention to today is that if we speak about Salah, and if we demonstrate Salah, they have prayers as well. We have to give them something that they do not have. We have to give them something that they do not have. If we present Islam in such a shell that they are familiar with, they will not take it. We have to present something to them that they don't have, and that is the essence of my speech today, or whatever I share with you. If we study the life of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam entered Makkah al-Mukarramah, or was born in Makkah al-Mukarramah, we come to know that the crowd was very hostile. They did not accept his message. And relentlessly, the Prophet of Allah conveyed the message of Allah. He never gave up, but he couldn't see the results. But the effort of a human being is never wasted. أَنِّي لَا أُضِيعُ عَمَلَ عَامِلٍ مِّنكُم مِّن ذَكَرٍ أَوْ أُنثَىٰ. Whatever effort you make, may it be towards dunya, may it be towards deen, it will never go to a waste. Allah is very just. Whatever effort you make, it is the burning desire and the sentiments that propel a person to make an effort. And based upon the effort, Allah will reward him. Many a times we see the result immediately. And many a times the result comes after so many years. Most of you are students, or I can say all of you are students. You are studying now, but you can't see the results. But you are studying. And you will study for 6 or 7 years, and you pay a lot of money for it. And true. A lot of money is paid towards these studies, and you study for 6 or 7 years, but you don't see any reward. But you believe deep down the reward is after 6 years. If I return back to Indonesia, or if I remain in Australia, I will secure a good job. And then you see the money coming, and that is the reward. And that's why you are studying now. The same is with you. That we put the effort in now. The Prophet of Allah put the effort in being in Makkah. And they were exposed to hostility, persecution, abuse, torture, ill treatment, so on and so forth. But the Prophet of Allah never gave up. The Sahaba never gave up. They couldn't see any positive results. But we are not working for deen because of results. We are working because it is our duty. It is our duty. But Allah is just. He will never ever allow a person to lose the reward of his efforts. So when the Sahaba made it into Medina al-Munawwara, the starting of the reward commenced. And the Sahaba started to see the results of all the persecution that they endured. And people started to enter into the fold of Islam. But what did the Prophet of Allah say? Did Islam enter the hearts of the people because the Prophet of Allah was praying, or he demonstrated prayer? Was that the reason? No, the Prophet of Allah made it very clear by one statement, and he made mention why Islam spread in Medina. فُتِحَتِ الْمَدِينَةُ بِالْأَخْلَاقِ. فُتِحَتِ الْمَدِينَةُ بِالْأَخْلَاقِ. Medina was conquered by good conduct. And this is what we have to focus on. Medina was conquered by good akhlaq. It was the manner in which the Prophet of Allah presented himself, with a smiling face, with beautiful words that used to drop from his mouth like pearls and diamonds. It was the way that he used to handle the different scenarios. It was the way that he handled persecution and abuse and ill treatment that won the hearts over of the non-believers. And this formula will always work for humanity. This formula that the Prophet of Allah used to win the hearts of the people not only the people of the Arab Peninsula, but the entire world, as we will make mention, will work at all times. It will never ever become old, this formula. It will always remain current and operational. So it is very, very important to understand, as brothers and sisters, that we have come into this country. What are my duties towards the wider community? I was born in England, but I studied in Pakistan. So the environment in Pakistan and the environment in Indonesia is a bit similar, all Muslims. So, you know, a person in a Muslim environment, I believe, becomes complacent. When I go back to Pakistan, as I'm going on the 22nd, I feel weak Islamically. I feel weak Islamically when I go to Pakistan. It is hard for me to establish tahajjud. And in Australia it's very easy. Because the environment doesn't allow you to drop guard. Australia doesn't allow us to drop guard. Pakistan, Indonesia allows us to drop guard because it's our own country. That's why the Muslims of India are much more stronger in faith than the Muslims of Pakistan. I've been to both countries. Because they've got an opposition. So we will use this for our deen. We have come to Australia. If we drop guard, our vessel of Islam may drift very, very far away. We've got a magnet that pulls us in this country. And we will use that magnet to become closer to Allah. Each one of us, we will become closer to Allah in this country. So alhamdulillah, we will not take off our hijab. We will not compromise our image and our culture. As the brother was saying that there's an Indonesian Islamic culture, we will not compromise that. But at the same time, we want to integrate. We want to become a part of the community. Because if we remain outside, the wider community will not benefit from our presence. And wherever Muslims have gone, the wider community has to benefit. And to benefit, we have to integrate. So for this, I would like you to remember there are 3 levels. If you have a pen and a paper, you can write this down. This will help you because most of you will travel throughout the entire world. Because you are PhDs and you are very educated, mashallah, and you will travel throughout the whole world. The ulama have made mention there are 3 levels, and I will go through them one by one. Mawalat, Mawasat, and Mudarat. Of course, the terms are very new to you. You've never heard them before, but we will define them. We will translate them. Mawalat. Mawalat in Arabic means qalbi mahabba. Love that stems from the bottom of the heart. Mawalat and qalbi muhabba is only with the believer. You can't love a non-believer from the heart. And when I say love from the heart, you want to be around that person. You want to share secrets with him. You want to sit down with him. If you don't see him, there is a pull that where is my brother and sister? And this kind of positive emotion is reserved for a believer. Surah 5, verse 51, Allah says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la tattakhizul yahuda wal nasara ba'duhum awliya ba'd. Now a lot of people take this verse, Muslims who are liberal and non-Muslims that are attacking Islam. And they say, your Quran says that you are not allowed to take a Jew and a Christian as your friend. It is in the Quran. Surah number 5, verse 51. Now if we study the life of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam or the life of the Sahaba, we come to know that their life was counter to this. They used to mingle, they used to befriend them. So what is the meaning of this verse? So the scholars have come up with the first level. They say mawalat. In this verse, Allah forbids qalbi muhabba. In this verse, Allah forbids each Muslim of qalbi muhabba. Because if your heart is connected to a non-believer, many times you will compromise a religion. And a Muslim is not allowed to compromise his religion at any time. True? Makes sense? That is qalbi muhabba. Number 2, mudarat. Mudarat. This is the second level, mudarat. Now mudarat means good conduct. Good conduct. Good conduct has to be displayed with everyone. You're not allowed, if you just visualize good conduct with a switch, you're not allowed to switch it off at any time in life. And this good conduct should be on display with Muslims and with non-Muslims. You have to treat everyone with the best manners, with softness. This is mudarat. So if you find a verse in the Quran in which Allah says you're not allowed to befriend a non-believer, that verse is alluding to qalbi muhabba. But when it comes to treating another human being, disregarding his faith, you have to display good conduct. You have to. The Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in, they went to Persia. Yes. They went to Persia. They went to Rome. They went to Africa. Didn't they display good conduct? I'll give you one simple story. When Islam was spreading like wildfire in all directions, a group of people, they came together and they wanted to know why. We don't find anything apparently in their life that is different than us. We have wealth, we have manpower, we have resources, we have means, so on and so forth, but we can't achieve the results that they are achieving. So they sent a spy to Baghdad, that was the capital, Baghdad. And they said, you go and find out what do the Muslims do that we do not know of. Most probably that is the reason why Islam is spread like wildfire. And I would like you to listen to this attentively and share this with your family members. So this one spy who did not reveal his identity, he made it into Baghdad. So when he made it into Baghdad, he was very hungry, very, very hungry. So he went to a restaurant. There's an echo in the sound. There's an echo. Maybe a bit. Can I get a glass of water? Just, it shouldn't be cold, just normal glass of water. That's good. That's fine. So he sat in a restaurant and he ordered food. So he's sitting there waiting for the food and he finds that there's a person on the other table staring at you. He's just staring at you like this. So now you're in a new country, you're not a local, and there's a person who's a local who's staring at you. What comes to your mind? That once I walk out of this restaurant, he's going to rob me. He's going to rob me, he's going to mob me. So he's very, very scared. Anyway, after a few moments, that person sitting on the other table, he stands up and he walks away. So now he takes a breath of relief. He consumes the food, he goes to pay the price for the food, and the person said, it has already been paid. It's already been paid. He said, who paid it? He said, the person doesn't want his identity to be revealed. There was a person in this restaurant that paid for it. You should tell me who's that person. He said, that person that was staring at you. He came in, he said that most probably this person is a traveler, he's a newcomer. He didn't know if he was a Muslim or a non-Muslim, but he's an insan, he's a human being. He's a human being, and he said that most probably this person, he's a traveler, he does not know, so I would like to pay for it. So he came as a spy, and suddenly this person, by paying for his meal, changed his mind. So he stood up and he said, amazing, I thought he was going to hurt me, inflict pain. But on the contrary, he has paid for my meal. So he now walks out, and he's looking at, he goes to the souk, and he finds an item that catches his eye. And he looks at the item and he wants to buy it. So he goes to the shopkeeper and he says, how much is this? He says, this is about 10 dirham. $10. And he's ready to pay the $10, and this shopkeeper says, can you listen to me? He says, what? He said, you know, this item you can find in that shop. There's a shop on the other side of the street. He said, this same item you can find in that shop. I would like you to buy the same item from that shop, not from my shop. He thought that a shopkeeper shouldn't be directing the customers to another shop. He should be selling the items. But anyway, he went to that shop and he bought the item. But this was something that was bothering him. So he came back to this person and said, you're a shopkeeper, you are selling. Why did you direct me to that shop? He said, look, that is my brother as well. He's my brother as well. Today I have sold so many items that I have secured a need for myself and my family. But I have been seeing that my brother has not received many customers. And my brother will return home without a meal for his family. So I directed you there. He thought about this. He said, who are you? He said, I'm a Muslim. And then this person right there and then he said that I want to accept the religion that you follow. He said, why? He said that if this is the softness and the compassion that a Muslim has for another Muslim, how much compassion and softness will the Prophet of Allah have? He accepted Islam. Understood? Mudarat, good akhlaq. And I believe that Indonesian people are very soft. Alhamdulillah. Allah has given you this. You know, Allah has given you this. In Pakistan, there are different people. Like if you go to a Pathan, he's not soft. I don't know if you're familiar with Pathans. They're not soft. There's not a bone in their body that will translate softness. Very, very hard. But you will find that. So for you, Allah has given you the head start. Allah has given you the head start. You have that softness in you. I think even if you pretend to be hard, you can't. That's why I have heard when I came in this country, they said to me in the start, I am married now though, but they said that if you want to marry Indonesian. That's what they said. I married them, my sisters, I married them. But they said if you want to marry Indonesian girl, I said why? They said they are very, very good. True. Be very careful. True. So they do a lot of khidmah. Yeah, to take care of their husbands, and that's very, very true. I have said to this couple, and I love this couple from the bottom of my heart. I've been seeing them for a very, very long time. I think that the president are a very important part of your organization. But I have not seen love stronger than that this couple has. Every Jummah they come to the Holland Park Mosque, hands in hand. Allah. And this is what Allah wants. This is what the Rasul wants. This is how a marriage should be. And I've said this on their face many a times, and in lectures when they're not present, but today I've said it in front of you, but in lectures that you are not present, I use you as a mithal, as an example. And this is because of the softness that Allah has given to you. Now we have to use this softness one level in front, and that is with the wider community. So the second level is mudarat. What is the third level? Mawasat. Many times you will receive a call. It will be Salvation Army. It will be an organization working for the children that have some kind of sickness. And they will ask you for donations. True? They will ask you for donations. Why I share this with you? Because I receive a lot of calls. So they will ask you for donations. Remember, you are allowed to give donations. Zakat, compulsory donation, only goes to Muslims. Compulsory charity or compulsory funds, known as zakat, can only be given to a Muslim. But anything other than that, known as optional charity, can be given to Muslims and non-Muslims. Surah 60 verse number 8. Surah Mumtahina. Allah says, لا ينهاكم الله عن الذين لم يقاتلوكم في الدين ولم يخرجوكم أن تبروهم وتقسطوا إليه إن الله يحب المقسطين. I'll give you the reference again. Surah number 60, verse verse number 8. Allah says those people that are not in war with you, that have not waged war with you, and that have not driven you out of your homes. Now I ask you, is Australia in battle with us? They've given us shelter. Have they driven us out of our homes? No. Then the law is treat them kindly and justly. So the scholars have said under this verse you are allowed to give them money. And many a times, this is my own practice, if people ring me over the phone, or even if I'm in the shopping center, because I wear this wherever I go. I'm not saying you have to wear this, but I wear this wherever I go. So when people see me with a cap and this, and they are standing there in Carindale Shopping Center or Garden City and they got a store, I go purposely to give. So they know that these people give as well. They're not only people that tie bombs. These people give as well. I will go and I will pay. Even if I don't need to, but I will. And when I do accept over the phone, they'll say, what is your full name? I will say Muhammad. My name is Mirza Uzair Akbar. Mirza Muhammad Uzair Akbar. It is a very long name. But I will stipulate, I will say Muhammad Uzair. So they know it is a Muslim, because everyone knows Muhammad is Muslim. So this is the da'wah that you give to the wider community. So the third level is muwasa, that you help these people. You help these people wherever you go. Now Prophet Muhammad won the hearts of the people with his good conduct. I would like you to draw your attention that when he entered Madinatul Munawwara, people were waiting. People were waiting that Prophet Muhammad is arriving in Medina. Now who are waiting? The Muslims are waiting. The Jews are waiting. The Christians are waiting. The Munafiqun are waiting. The idolaters are waiting. Everyone is waiting. First impression is a final impression. There's a statement. First impression is a final impression. So Prophet Muhammad arrives in Medina, and people from different ethnic backgrounds, from different religious backgrounds, they all make it in the Mubarak Majlis. What does the Prophet of Allah say? What was his first message to the people of Medina? And I would like you to focus on this. He says, Afshu salam. وأطعموا الطعام وأطعموا الطعام ولينوا بالكلام وصلوا بالليل والناس He says, this is his first advice. Now this is a person that has brought a revolution in the world. Before his arrival into Medina, people are accepting. Mus'ab bin Umair radiallahu ta'ala, the first teacher of Medina, has changed the hearts of so many people. And he is one student of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What will the nur and the presence of the Prophet of Allah bring to Medina? And he comes and he sits down, and the first nasiha, the first talk that he gives to the Muslims and to everyone is Afshu salam, give salam. He didn't say pray. He didn't say keep away from idolatry. He said give salam. One person came to me once and he said, why do Muslims give salam? He said you give salam because you make dua for the person. You say assalamu alaikum, God grant you peace, God grant you well-being, afiyah, salamati. He said, right, that means that when I give salam, I am giving dua to that person? I said, yes. After a few days he came again, and he didn't give salam, and he said, why didn't you give salam? He said, I hate Islam. I don't want to give Islam. You understand? Islam is such a bit, without even thinking, you have to give salam. You like the person, you don't like the person. Ya'arif man lam ya'arif. You recognize the person, you don't recognize the person, you give salam. By even giving salam, it will break the hatred, the shackle of hatred that has caught your heart. It will break it. Slowly and gradually, you just have to give salam. That's why I say, when you give salam, give it in a way that the person knows that you're giving salam. Nowadays, properly, assalamu alaikum. When you make It has to be proper. The angels have to understand what you're saying. They carry your dua, they don't understand a word you're saying. No. Many a times I say to my wife when she sneezes, I say Alhamdulillah loudly. Say it loudly. So I can reply and say Yarhamukallah. And she goes, she said, I've said it. I said, I didn't hear it. I have to hear it. For me to give dua to you and say Yarhamukallah, I have to hear it. Likewise, when it comes to salam, you have to say loudly and clearly, so the recipient can reply. That's why if you say Assalamu alaikum, he will say Wa alaikum assalam. Just came to my mind, just off topic, but it is pertaining to this. And I will make mention how you give salam to a non-believer as well. One day the Prophet of Allah was sitting in his Mubarak majlis, and one person came and he said Assalamu alaikum. The Prophet of Allah said 10. And after a few moments another person came and he said Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. The Prophet of Allah said 20. And after a few moments another person came and he said Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The Prophet of Allah said 30. This is one transmission, this is one narrative. In another narrative of Abu Dawood, it has been said a person came and he said Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh wa maghfiratuh. The Prophet of Allah said 40. The Sahaba was sitting there, they said, what is this 10, 20, 30, 40? So the Prophet of Allah said that he came, he gave me one dua. He said, Assalamu alaikum. So I replied by saying, Wa alaikum assalam. He gave me one dua, he gets 10 rewards. Man ja'a bil hasana, falahu ashru amthaliha. The minimum reward of a good deed is 10, tenfold. The second person came, he gave me 2 du'as, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I said, Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. So he gets 20 virtues. The third person came, he gave me 3 du'as. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I gave him the same reply, he gets 30 virtues. The fourth person came, he gave me 4 du'as. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh wa maghfiratuh. So I replied in the same fashion, he gets 40 rewards. Now you have to understand, sometimes it is not the occasion to give the full salam. One person is on the motorbike and he's riding and he's going up, saying, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi, and he's on the next signal. Yeah? Like in our countries, in Pakistan we ride motorbikes, so I think same in Indonesia. Now you're given the long salam, Imam Uzair said, I want 40 virtues. You want him to reply the whole person. So Assalamu alaikum is sufficient. Imam Bukhari makes mention in Adab al-Mufrad. It's a book of Imam Bukhari. There's another dua. Abdullah ibn Umar, the son of Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala, he used to say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu wa maghfiratuhu wa tayyibat salawatuh. Now that is when you're at home and the person is going nowhere, you give that salam. And in this there's a lot of barakat. You know, one person, one sahabi, he was at home. He was you read the story in the seerah. He was at home and Prophet Muhammad needed to speak. So the Prophet of Allah knocked on the door and said, Assalamu alaikum. Now he's inside, he's hearing the Prophet, he doesn't reply. Now giving salam is sunnah, replying is wajib. Replying is more important than even giving the salam. So he's sitting inside and he doesn't say, Wa alaikum assalam, he just listening. So the Prophet of Allah, according to the Sunnah, knocks for the second time and says, Assalamu alaikum, he does not reply. He's hearing the Prophet, but he doesn't reply. The Prophet of Allah knocks for the third time and says, Assalamu alaikum. He doesn't reply. And the Prophet thinks in his mind that no one is at home, so he turns away and he's walking. And the Sahabi comes, opens the door and says, Wa alaikum assalam. So the Prophet said, were you inside? He said, yes. So did you hear me the first time? He said, yes. The second time, yes. So why didn't you reply? He said, Khatimul Anbiya, the seer of all prophets, is giving me salam, is giving me dua. If I said, Wa alaikum assalam the first time, you will stop giving me dua. So I kept taking the dua. So dua is very important. Now when we come to a non-believer, how do we give salam? How do we give salam? The dua for a non-believer, because all humanity is, at the end of the day, our brothers and our sisters. And that's how we have to look at it. So when we meet them, we don't know if we're going to meet them every day or we meet them once in our lifetime. We have to give them a dua. And the best dua for them is the dua of hidayah. In Surah Fatiha that we recite every day in Salah, what do we say? Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to pick your brain. I'm going to pick your brain. Now, are you on hidayah? Am I on hidayah? We're Muslims, we're in hidayah. Why do we say Allah ihdina sirat al-mustaqim every day? Every day we're going ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. What is the meaning of this? The scholars have said there are two kinds of hidayah. One is ira'atul tariq and one is isal ila al-matlub. Two kinds of hidayah. I'll explain. Allah reward you for, you just tell me when to finish because I've just started. You know, I didn't prepare anything, I don't know what I'm saying, so you just tell me. Right? But I have to be back at around 1:30. So most of you are going to skip the lunch. So, I read brother when I made it to the tennis court because I played tennis at the tennis courts many times. I believe I'm a sports person, but my body doesn't agree. I'm a sports person. So I have played tennis many times here, so I made it to the tennis courts and I rang brother. And I said, brother, can you come and pick me up? I don't know where I am. So brother came and he sat in my car and he brought me to the door of the hall. Alright? Now this is one way of guiding me to the hall. This is one way. Second way is that I ring him and he says, look, I'm not coming, but I can give you directions. So you go straight, then you make a right, then you go straight, then you make a left, then you go straight, and you will find the hall in the front. Now this is another way of guidance. Now in this kind of guidance, there's a possibility I will make it, and there's a possibility I will not make it. True? In the first one, I can't get lost because he's brought me to the door. Now when we say, Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim, oh Allah, guide us to the right path, we are asking Allah to hold my pinky and to take me to Jannah. This is the guidance we are asking Allah. In this kind of guidance, we'll never get lost. Oh Allah, you gave me the directions through the Quran, this is wrong, this is right, this is yameen, this is shimal, but I'm going to get lost. So I want you to hold my hands and guide me every step of my life to my destination, Jannah. This is the hidayah that you ask for in dua, in salah. Remember that. And when it comes to a non-believer, the hidayah is there. Hudal lil muttaqin, this hudal lil alameen, this Quran is hidayah for the entire universe. It means ira'atul tariq, it has shown you what is right and what is wrong. It has shown you what is right and what is wrong. So when it comes to a non-believer, we are going to try to make a supplication of the best dua. And the best dua is the dua of hidayah. So you say to him, Salamun ala man ittaba'al huda. This is the salam for a non-believer. Salamun ala man ittaba'al huda. And then explain it to him because he may be thinking you're swearing at him. You tell him what you're saying. You have to tell him. You're saying, I am saying, mercy be upon that person that is guided. So you are asking Allah to send mercy on him. But mercy will only fall upon him when he is guided. So indirectly you are asking Allah to guide him as well. And that is the best dua. So what was the first advice of the Prophet of Allah? Afshu salam, spread salam. Number two, وَأَطْعِمُ الطَّعَامِ, feed them. Call. From this we can understand you're allowed to go to their functions as long as they provide halal. And you call them to your house. Satés. You know? And 312 Nursery Road. I live, so satés are most welcome. Anytime. I really like them, actually. I'm not joking. Sorry. You can send it anytime you want. So, وَأَطْعِمُ الطَّعَامِ, feed them. So we should be feeding them as well. We should be feeding the wider community. I've been the Imam of Holland Park Mosque since '96. I'll tell you the power of feeding. I'll tell you the power of feeding. This brother Javed, is a witness to this. I had a tafsir program. I used to conduct a tafsir program. I could only attract 20 people. And I used to crack all these jokes and everything, and I thought people would come, 20 people, 25 people. Then we started food. 2 years ago we started food. After the program, food. You know how many people, Ghana? 170. You win the stomach before you win the heart. You have to win this before you win this. That is the order. You can't go from the top to the bottom. And that's why the Prophet of Allah said, وَأَطْعِمُوا الطَّعَامِ, feed the people. So give gifts, feed them. Every dime that you spend towards da'wah, every dime, every penny, every dollar that you spend towards da'wah, to bring a fasiq, a non-practicing Muslim to the practicing form of Islam, a non-believer to the understanding of Islam, will be rewarded for it. And the third one, وَلَيِّنُوا بِالْكَلَامِ, be soft in your speech. Soft in your speech. I can't say this to my Indonesian sisters because they are soft, but normally ladies try to be soft. Back chatting is counterproductive to the marriage. It is not good. And that's why when the Prophet of Allah used to give the khutbah in nikah, what did he say? Ittaqullaha wa qulu qawlan sadida. The Quran, 30 juz, 114 chapters of unequal length, and from all the Quran, the Prophet selects 3 verses. One verse is this verse of Surah Ahzab, Ittaqullaha wa qulu qawlan sadida. Meaning, in essence, use this properly. Use this properly. But at the same time, I say, one day, one Sahabi, he was disturbed by the back chatting of his wife. He was disturbed by the back chatting of his wife. So he said, I will go to Hazrat Umar and I will complain. And most probably he will give me the permission to reprimand. So he went to the house of Hazrat Umar and he knocked on the door. Now when you knock on the door, you stand to the side. So he heard that the wife was given a full mouth to Hazrat Umar. Full mouth. She was back chatting. And Hazrat Umar is listening. I came to complain to Khalifa of my wife back chatting, and he's going through the same thing. His wife is back chatting and he's listening. I can't hear Hazrat Umar saying a word. But anyway, he said, no, you said, I'm sick, he's sick as well. Let's walk away. Try to find a doctor that is not sick. And if you do find one, tell me, please. You're not going to find that doctor. So he walks away. And Hazrat Umar opens the door. Hazrat Umar opens the door. How beautiful. He opens the door and he says, where are you going? He said, forget about it. He said, tell me, why did you come? He said, no, tell me. He said, I came because you're the Khalifa. You're the best person to speak to. I'm facing this problem, but I came to know you're facing exactly the same problem. You know what Hazrat Umar said? All hats off to the sisters. Hazrat Umar said, my wife is my chef. She's my cleaner. She's my cleaner. She's my nurse. She does everything for me. This one lady is a majmu'ah. Majmu'ah means, collectively she represents so many different individuals. So many different individuals. A nurse, in the sense, she takes care of my children. Chef, she cooks for me. Cleaner, that she cleans the house. If I needed a nurse and a chef and a cleaner, think about how much it would cost me. He said, no, I've understood now. So, because of this one small blemish, can't you forgive her? Can't you focus upon what she is rather than what you don't like? And he says, yes. He said, that's what I do with my wife. She brought my children into this world. Bringing one child in this world, it makes a lady finish one child. She brings so many children into this world. She takes care of the domestic duties. So if she says a few words every day, every morning, every afternoon, every evening, doesn't matter. Hero for the women and 0 for the men today. Alright. So, walayyinu bil kalam, so soft in our speech. And we shouldn't be abrupt, we shouldn't be rude. And the last one was sallu bil layl wan nas niyan, that pray at night when people are sleeping. Now I'd like you to focus upon this. How many advices did the Prophet give? 4. Only one is pertaining to worship. known as Haququllah, the rights of Allah. All three are pertaining to the rights of people. Giving salam, number one, is Haququl Ibad, the rights of people. At'imut ta'am, feeding people, is pertaining to Haququl Ibad. Walayinu bil kalam, being soft in your speech, is pertaining to Haququl Ibad. The only one pertaining to Haququllah, the rights of Allah, is Salah at night, known as Tahajjud prayer. From here we can understand that 3 from the 4 advices are pertaining to Haququl Ibad. And what is Haququl Ibad? Known as Akhlaq, good conduct. And that's what we have to try to display. I will conclude on that for today. If I have said anything to hurt the feelings of my brothers or sisters, please forgive me. I try to keep it very simple so my brothers and sisters can understand. Allah has brought you to this country. This country is a beautiful country. There's a lot of opportunity in all respects. But you try to maintain your image, your culture, your faith. Because if Allah is on our side, everyone is on our side. If we compromise our faith for anyone, then Allah Rabbul Izzat will leave us without His assistance. We need the nusrat and the madad of Allah. This organization is a blessing in disguise for the Indonesian community. Link yourself with it, come to the programs on a regular basis, try to affiliate yourself with the masjid. If you want to come to the Holland Park Mosque, I was referring to that dinner, make it to that dinner as well. Yes, that is every Monday after Salat al-Isha. Subhanallah wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. I believe you may have some questions. If you don't have to ask. But if you do, yes, please.
Yes, my question is, what should we reply if my supervisor is Brisbane, and when I come to him for consultation, usually it is him who brings me as a so.
You can, 2 things. You can say wa iyyakum, that's number 1, or you can say salamun ala man ittaba'al huda. Maybe better you say salam and emphasize the word salam so you know you're giving some kind of salam. Salamun ala man ittaba'al huda. Better, if there's no questions, it's better not to ask. There's a story of this. Imam Abu Hanifa, one of the great Muslim jurists, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Shafi, Imam Malik, Imam Ahmad, Imam Abu Hanifa is one of the great Muslim jurists. In his gathering, there used to be one student that never used to ask questions. Never used to ask questions. One fine day, Imam Abu Hanifa said to him, he said that look, every single student in this class has asked me a question once or twice, and you never ask a question. Now, it may be that you understand everything that I say. That may be the reason why you don't ask a question, everything is clear to you. Or it may be that you don't understand a word. So if you don't, please ask a question. So he said, all right. After a couple of days, once the teacher was giving a speech, sometimes being silent hides your faults. So one day what happened is that the Shaykh, Imam Abu Hanifa, Nu'man bin Thabit, was speaking about when the fast starts and when the fast breaks, you know, sunrise, sunset. And he said that when the sun will set, you break your fast. So he raised his hands. So now everyone in the class, they wanted to know what question will this student ask, because after so many years he's asking this question, it must be something so marvelous. And the teacher, he's bamboozled as well. What is he going to ask them? So he said, yes. He says, you have said that when the sun sets, you break the fast. Now I'm asking a question, if the sun does not set, what do we do? He said, it was better you didn't ask a question. Yes.
Because I'm new here, because of your experience, what is the understanding of the Australian community about for example, like when I have invited to dinner, I asked him, chef, is it halal? He said yes, but is it
Allah reward you. The sister is saying, what is the perception of the wider community pertaining to halal? I would say that they don't have the full knowledge of halal. Halal for many business people is a logo that will attract more customers. I went to one shop and it had halal there. And I said, is this halal? He said, yeah, there's halal. I said, right? I said, what is halal? He said, I don't know. I said, why have you got this? He said, since I put this up, more customers come. So if it is a Muslim shop, they have halal, of course they're going to know. I think it is a duty upon us that if we are invited by a person, because they're going to make an effort to prepare a meal for yourself, it is better that you highlight what is halal. You can tell them that this is what is halal. By us talking to them, educating them, then in their future it may become a norm that people know what is halal. But by just a logo or a print on the wall that this is halal, they don't have a concept. The closest thing that you can say is kosher. They are familiar with the Jewish halal, known as kosher. So if you say, look, halal is something similar to kosher, and then you can explain what halal is, I think that would be better. But I don't believe that they have a full understanding of what halal is. They may think that halal is something very tiny, like the meat is halal. Like you said, the meat may be halal, but how did they cook it? With which oil did they cook it? What were the other ingredients? They may not be familiar. Yes.
I got down here, you don't offer something to a non-believer, they already have.
Say that again.
Offer something that they don't have.
What is the verse? Which book?
That was in reference to your verse.
Yes.
Regarding maybe that one.
Yes.
It's offering what they don't have.
Yes. What they don't have is nowadays the wider community or the whole humanity. We find them that they are pursuing a dream that they will never grasp, and I'm talking about the dream of materialism. We have something that the wider community does not have, and that is spirituality. As we see nowadays, a few days ago, a very famous actor in America committed suicide by taking the overdose. Why? He had wealth, he had everything, because they are applying ointment on their body, but they are not giving anything to the soul. We have something that can give satisfaction to the soul. And what is that? The remembrance of Allah. And so we attract them through good akhlaq, and then we give them the dose of dhikr that will give them contentment in the heart. And that's what we can give to the wider community.
Just want to ask you two things. The first is about the three terms that you mentioned before. Was that, wrote that Arabic or Urdu?
No, Arabic.
That's right.
Muwalat, mudarat, muwasat.
Yeah. And the second thing is that's about, because we are part of the minority community in a country like Australia or maybe another country. In Quran, I think so many people understand that there is instruction from God that in this case, means that we can interpret in this case as a government. What do you think about if there are some government that try to maybe something like interpret into the religious teaching? Maybe this a couple of I would like to have in French maybe when the government try to prohibit the using of Quran, or I think in the beginning or the end of the government there was also similar regulation. Quran is, I think, is completely different with guilt like what Indonesian women use. So what do you think about that? Which is fully unlimited. Can interpret as the government or just bigger in the internal Muslim community?
Yeah, وَأُولِي أَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ. Now, وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ, according to the scholars, is, some scholars are of this opinion, it is a government. Some scholars say it is the mufassirun. It is is the ulama, it is the fuqaha. But all commentators are unanimous upon this, that the government, if it is a government, it has to be a government that is regulated and dictated by the Sharia. It is not a government that is, I'm a Muslim government like in Pakistan, Zardari, he's a Muslim government, the laws are all non-Islamic. You don't obey him. And you can see by the verse, Allah says, Allah, obey Allah. Then Allah says, obey Rasul. Then Allah says, obey the government or the fuqaha. Now, if the government is not obeying Allah and the Rasul, that is the first and the second step, how can you obey them? The government has to be obeying Allah and the Rasul for you to obey them. That's the first thing. Now coming to the next, like in non-Muslim governments, they have certain rules. So to understand the ruling pertaining to them, you have to understand the three terminologies. One is Darul Islam, one is Darul Kufr, and one is Darul Aman. These are three Dar. Now Dar is an Arabic word that means home. Now Darul Islam is like Indonesia, you can say, that a home in which the laws of the country are based upon the structure of Sharia. The laws of the country are based upon Sharia. So you will live your life according to the laws of that country. That is Darul Islam. We don't have to really talk about it, we know that. One is Darul Kufr. Darul Kufr is a place in which you are not allowed to practice your religion in totality. There is no country in the world that is Darul Kufr. Even in France, they are targeting a few aspects, but basically a person has the freedom to practice. Now, Darul Kufr, you don't find in this world. When it was Russia, you can say Russia, when they were fighting against the Afghans, Soviet Union, that was Darul Kufr. You were not allowed to practice, you were not allowed to pray, you were not allowed to keep the Quran. Now, for the Muslims in Darul Kufr, the best thing is to migrate. If you are in a land where you are not allowed to practice your religion, it is incumbent upon you to make hijrah, to leave. The third land is Darul Aman, a land that is governed by laws that are not based upon the structure of Sharia, but at the same time they give you freedom to practice. Now the laws of Darul Aman are similar to the laws of Darul Islam. And Australia is Darul Aman, it is a land of peace. Now in this country or any country, if they impress certain laws upon us that are counter to our laws, then we will have to seriously think that if we are going to live in this country or leave this country. Yes?
To continue with your exposition about Darul Aman,
yes.
Would you say that, or would you advise the Muslims in Indonesia, everyone, the Muslims in Australia, to actually integrate politically as well?
Yes, very important. Yes. What we can do, if you, just speak about this, but there are certain faiths that are much smaller than us, they have a much smaller representation than us, but they are much stronger. The reason behind it is they are in politics, they are in the governments, they are supporting certain parties. They may not even be directly in the governments, but they are supporting. They fund the campaign. And when they give money and fund these politicians and they make it inside, then they use them. So we should integrate even in the political fit. For one reason, not for power, not for name, but for the betterment of Muslims and the betterment of Islam.
So maybe we can suggest to our brothers and sisters here who are not having, not pressing to go home, we have by that scholarship and all that, maybe they just become Muslim.
Yes, Australia. I'll tell you another thing is when this is Medina, and on the outskirts of Medina was prime property. Try to understand this. On the outskirts, sorry, I made it wrong. This is Medina. Inside Medina was the prime property, like this place. It was prime property. Close to Masjid al-Nabawi was prime property. Now all this prime property was held by the Jews. They were the owners of these prime properties. So when the Prophet of Allah arrived in Medina, he made Masjid al-Nabawi there. What is going to happen? Azan, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. So early in the morning, the Jews, they stand up. They say, we have to wake up in the morning for this azan. So what are we going to do? We are going to leave these prime properties and we're going to go to the outskirts so we don't have to listen to the adhan. So they gave up the prime properties and they walked outside Medina and they bought these properties. Now these properties were held by the poor Muslims, the Ansar. So the Ansar, they were getting good money for this property. Normally they would get nothing for it, but they were getting good money for it. So before selling, they came to the Prophet of Allah. They said, oh, Prophet of Allah, should we sell this and come? Because they're giving us so much money that we can buy the prime property. Now logically, the decision should be, alright, sell it and come close to Masjid al-Nabawi. The Prophet said, no, stay there. So why should we stay there? They said that if you leave that, there will be no one to give da'wah to. Stay there amongst them, integrate with them, so they see Muslims, they integrate with Muslims, and it gives them the opportunity to change. So the Prophet of Allah did not allow them to come to Masjid al-Nabawi. Alright, I think that's enough. Yes, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Enjoy the meal, inshallah. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. Allah, O Arhamar Rahim, most forgiving, most compassionate, most kind, most merciful, forgive all our shortcomings. Ya Allah, forgive our minor and our major sins. Ya Allah, grant each one of us a life of taqwa. Ya Allah, grant each one of us a life of obedience. Ya Allah, fill our hearts with your love. Ya Allah, fill our hearts with your love. Ya Allah, grant each one of us the best of both worlds. Grant us success, dignity, honor, prosperity in this world, success, dignity, honor in the hereafter. Ya Allah, allow us to live a life of Iman. Ya Allah, whatever duties are on our shoulders, Ya Allah, allow us to discharge those duties properly. Ya Allah, Ya Arhamar Rahim, protect our men, our women, our old, our young, our children from all types of calamity. Ya Allah, unite the Muslim world on the platform of Iman and Amal Saleh. Ya Allah, spread guidance in the entire world. Ya Allah, allow us to depart with complete faith. Ya Allah, in this noble assembly, whatever we have asked for, if it is favorable, Ya Allah, grant it to us. Ya Allah, if it is not favorable, grant that is favorable. Ya Allah, if we have asked for something that we should not ask for, Ya Allah, pardon us. Ya Allah, if there is something that we should ask for that we have not asked for, Ya Allah, grant it to us. Ya Allah, accept all our supplications. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. السلام عليكم.
Acara belum selesai, pada bapak-bapak, ibu-ibu diminta sejenak tetap berada di tempat. Sebelum kita menuju ke acara selanjutnya, ada dua hal. Yang pertama, dari divisi fundraising, Teh Tita untuk bisa maju ke depan karena ada hal yang kemudian harus di fundraisingkan. Sampai ngomongin kata ya. Ya, terima kasih kepada Tita, silakan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Mohon maaf ya yang sudah lapar, mohon tidak akan lama 2 atau 3 menit saja. Jadi ini IISB akan sudah memproduksi kotak seperti ini. Ini adalah salah satu cara kita untuk beramal setiap hari. Mungkin di antara rekan-rekan suka banyak sekali yang punya recehan-recehan. Mohon keikhlasannya mungkin ditaruh di kotak ini. Dan nanti pada PJB yang akan datang 3 bulan kemudian, mohon keikhlasannya untuk kembali di bawah, kita akan kumpulkan. dan setiap yang terkumpul di sini akan kita gunakan untuk kegiatan-kegiatan seperti ini. Alhamdulillah tadi lekturnya luar biasa bagus sekali. Mudah-mudahan kita akan bisa terus berlanjut dan keberlanjutan kegiatan-kegiatan IISB adalah salah satunya dari ini. Jadi nanti pas keluar mungkin mohon untuk dibawa satu-satu dan dikumpulkan kembali kalau kita bertemu di pertemuan seperti ini. Yang kedua, mohon maaf, ini ada program beasiswa IISB. Mungkin tadi yang pertama kali datang sudah melihat filmnya. Jadi tahun yang lalu kita memberikan beasiswa kepada 9 orang anak di Indonesia yang kebetulan orang tuanya tidak mampu. Dan tahun ini program ini akan kembali dilanjutkan. Jadi jika di antara rekan-rekan ada yang memiliki peluangan rezeki, mohon partisipasinya. Jadi kita memberikan sebanyak $50 untuk setiap anak dan kita memberikannya per 3 bulan. Alhamdulillah tahun kemarin banyak donatur. Kalau tahun ini di antara rekan-rekan banyak yang bertambah lagi yang ingin memberikan atau berbagi, mudah-mudahan kita bisa menambah sehingga lebih banyak teman-teman atau saudara-saudara kita di Indonesia yang kurang beruntung yang bisa menikmati. Lengkapnya mungkin nanti akan disebarkan di FB. Itu saja dulu untuk hari ini. Terima kasih banyak. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih Teh Tita atas informasinya. Bagi yang juga barusan datang, diinformasikan juga di front desk tersedia penggalangan dana untuk sinabung di Sumatera Utara, kemudian juga untuk penjaringan wakaf untuk IMCQ yang sedianya akan meningkatkan kualitas masjid untuk masyarakat Indonesia di Brisbane dan Queensland ini. Ya. Oh ya. Ya, untuk sinabung dan tadi form yang sudah diisi nanti bisa dikumpulkan dengan Mbak Rika di sini, dan nanti bagi yang kemudian pengen menyampaikan bantuan dan sebagainya bisa nanti kemudian ada kotak yang sudah dipersiapkan untuk bencana sinabung di Sumatera Utara. Saya kira demikian itu. Sebelum keluar untuk kita melaksanakan makan siang bersama-sama, semua jamaah diharapkan untuk turun ke depan. Kita akan melakukan sesi foto bersama dan kemudian bisa menjalin silaturahmi semuanya. Dan sebelum semuanya kita bubarkan, mari kita ada tadi satu lagi ya? Oh iya, ada satu lagi teman-teman yang belum ini. Ada juga kita kedatangan teman yang baru juga yang mungkin belum dikenalkan, yaitu Pak Dodi. Ya, Pak Dodi mungkin bisa untuk berdiri sebentar menyapa teman-teman semuanya. Oh, ada satu lagi Mbak, siapa namanya Mbak? Mbak Ica. Oca, Mbak Oca, oke, Mbak Oca dan Mbak Oca ya, Mbak Oca. Nanti semoga kita semuanya dalam proses ke depan kita bisa bersama-sama lebih kolektif dalam satu gerbong yang lebih kompleks, yang lebih baik untuk menuju Indonesia yang lebih baik dan juga IISB yang lebih variatif. Sekian, mari kita tutup dengan bahasa alhamdulillah bersama-sama. Alhamdulillahirobbilalamin. Wallahul muwaffiq ila aqwamit thoriq. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Sekali lagi pada bapak-bapak ibu-ibu sekalian untuk segera turun di depan stage untuk kita foto bersama dan kemudian dilanjutkan dengan makan siang bersama. Sekian, terima kasih.